If you are a coach, one of the things that you need to know is how to talk about your work in a way that gets people interested, curious, and wanting to know more. The question is, what is the best way to respond to that old question? What do you do? We get asked it so many times, don't we? Networking, all different kind of events, people say, oh, so what do you do? And what I see is often coaches aren't making the most of those opportunities. They don't necessarily know the best way to talk about themselves, and they don't really know how to talk about their work in a succinct way that generates those further conversations and gets potential clients really interested. So over the years, I'm Lisa Farr, by the way, and I work specifically with coaches on their marketing. And over the years, I've developed this formula, which is what I wanted to share with you in this video, because I see the formula working really well to make the most of these opportunities. It's almost like this is a key marketing opportunity. When somebody asks you, what do you do? How to respond to that question in a way that can actually lead directly to getting more clients just through conversations. It's a really nice, easy way to market yourself, but there is some preparation involved in terms of knowing how best to do that. So what are the biggest mistakes that people make when they respond to the question, what do you do? I would say the biggest mistake I see coaches making when they're asked that question is they don't have a plan for what to say. Ideally, you need just maybe 2 messages that get people really interested and curious. Often what I see with coaches, if they don't have a plan, they speak too much. It's like they have too much to say, and it can go into a long monologue, which isn't terribly engaging. So as I speak through these mistakes, just see if any of them apply to you, whether any of these resonate with you. So that's probably the biggest mistake. So the second mistake that I see people making when they're asked, what do you do, is to say, I'm a coach. And that might seem like a natural response, but there are so many coaches out there, aren't there? And you've just lost the opportunity to demonstrate your credibility and your experience. And I think what can be even worse is if you say that you're a coach and then you try to explain coaching. I mean, that is so hard, isn't it, to explain coaching? It is so many different things to so many different types of people that really you're onto a loser as soon as you start that kind of conversation. So that is a mistake in my opinion there. Now, mistake number 3 that I see people making is, when asked, what do you do, is to talk about yourself. Now, that might be surprising, again, because it would seem quite normal to talk about yourself. But what works much better, instead of to talk about ourselves, is to talk about our target market, so the type of clients that we work with, and also to talk about the problems and the challenges that we can help them with. So why does that work better? It works better because if you're speaking with somebody and you begin to talk about a problem or a challenge that they are currently experiencing, they will resonate with you so much more quickly. It's almost like we're entering the conversation that is going on in the mind of our potential clients. So they'll be thinking problems, challenges, and if you can engage them in that, then your marketing, this messaging, can really get you into a further conversation with a potential client that bit more quickly than it would be otherwise. So those are the biggest mistakes that I see people making. And so the next question really is, what do you do instead, of course? This is where I'm going to share with you this formula, which I see it just works really well. And it's quite short. I think that's what's nice about it. It's quite short and simple. And I'm also going to give you some examples as we go through, because I think the examples will make it much easier for you to be able to replicate this and do it for yourself. All right, so here we go. So The formula is I work with, and then you have your target market, and then you have the word who, and then you start talking about the problem or the challenge. So, for example, for me, I might say I work with coaches, my target market, who don't know the best way to market themselves to get clients. So you can hear there how I've combined the two together. So I work with a lot of coaches whose target market is leaders, and they might say I work with leaders who need to create better results with less time and less resources, for example. Or, alternative, if you work with managers, I work with managers who need to lead virtual teams in times of change and unpredictability. So you can see how those sentences are beginning to be constructed together. You can, if you want to, use the word help. I know for some people they like that and some people not so much. So you could say, I help managers to deal with tricky situations and have the difficult conversations that they really need to have. So if that resonates for you, that's an alternative. And another way of talking about what you do is, instead of talking about the problem or the challenge, you can talk about the benefits and the solutions that you bring to your target market or your clients, perhaps. And so that might sound a little different, and you can see if you think that this is better or if you think it's worse. What's more engaging, really, is the question here. So I work with leaders, I'm just going to check my notes here. I work with leaders who need to motivate their team and improve performance. So you can hear that's almost like the towards language, the positive language. And what we've found over the years, it's been quite interesting, because what we found works better is actually to talk about the problem or the challenge that your clients have rather than the benefits or solutions. Now, why does it work like that? It works because your potential clients, they're so immersed in the problem, they're thinking about the problem. The challenge that they're facing is going round in their minds, and so it's almost like we can enter into that conversation that they're already having in their heads. And they haven't got to the place where they can see the benefit or the solution at this time. And so that's why it works so much better to talk about what's already going on in their minds, that conversation that's already going on in their heads. How do you know if your message is working or whether it's time for an upgrade? Well, here's a bit of a guide. So if your messaging is working, it should get people interested and engaged. It should get them to want to know more. And also, if it's a potential client, a good match for you, it should ideally get the person wanting to have a further conversation with you. The other interesting response that a lot of my clients weren't necessarily expecting is that when you talk about when they talk about what they do, it gets the response, I know somebody who needs to have a conversation with you. And that's a really good side benefit, I suppose, in terms of this messaging, is that it increases your referrals, recommendations from other people. So it's almost like your network can expand through the people that you know, way beyond to their connections, and then further and further. And so the other thing I wanted to share about the benefit of doing this way, talking about your clients, is that we don't have to talk so much about ourselves. It's like we don't have to brag, we don't have to feel like we have to big ourselves up. So it's really nice to do in that way. It's got that sort of feel-good factor as well, in terms of how you talk about your work and coaching and what you do. So I've had people use this sort of formula, and when they've done it, they've got clients through not just networking and business situations, which perhaps you would expect, but things like dog walking, having dinner with people. It can be really subtle, so it doesn't feel like you're selling yourself at all. And I guess that's another benefit of doing it this way. So I hope that's been useful for you. I hope it's been interesting. I just wanted to share this formula because I think it can make such a difference. And when you have it sorted, it's like you don't have to say too much. You can keep it quite short and concise. When you know what to say, it means you don't have to go on and try and keep reinventing the wheel. And that's really the other benefit. It's worth getting it right, I suppose. That's the other thing to say. It's worth spending some time to get this right, because once you've got it, you can use it time and time again. It's almost like what I would call rinse and repeat marketing. So you can use the same thing time and time again, because once you get it working, it works again and again and again. All right. I hope you're having a good day, whatever you're up to. All right. Bye for now.